Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook, so you can stop guessing, start healing, and finally feel like yourself again. No more one-size-fits-all protocols, just real answers, deep-rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. Good afternoon, Colleen.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. This is gonna be a great conversation. And
Excited.
we have so many parallels. That's gonna be really, I feel like very insightful for a lot of people. But Colleen is an intuitive life coach, and she really guides women on this kind of in-between space where they have, like, they know they're wanting more in their life. They're not really quite sure how. They want to feel more aligned. And I feel like this really isn't a talked about enough subject. So I'd love for you to explore a little bit more on who you are and how you got into this journey of life coaching.
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Colleen Osborne. I am a transformational coach, an intuitive guide, and the creator of the Courage Unleashed journey. But before I became a coach, I was a high achieving people pleaser who looked like she had it all together while quietly unraveling inside. I grew up in a bit of a chaotic, I guess, emotionally household. And I learned on early on that being useful, likable, being good was the safest way to survive. So I climbed all the ladders, collected achievements, president of college, president of high school,
Mm.
and kept the mask on until one day my body said, no more. I was so burned out. I got really sick, autoimmune stuff, gut stuff, hormone stuff. And eventually in 2020, I called off, or 2021, I called off an engagement and I left the life that was never really mine.
Mm.
And that unraveling became my initiation. So through therapy, deep healing, energetic work, IFS, really learning how to trust myself again, I rebuilt a life that actually fits. Not the one that I was taught to want, but the one that I was waiting for all along. So now I help other women, especially those who have lived by external expectations, reclaim their voice, break old patterns, and finally create a life from alignment and not fear. I truly believe that your fear isn't the enemy, it's the doorway. And I'm here to help walk you through it.
Mm. Yeah, this like alignment, this word alignment. I feel like I don't know if you felt this way. Until I really felt and embodied it, I didn't truly understand what that word meant until things unraveled and fell apart. And I was like, oh, I haven't been living in alignment. I didn't even know what that meant or felt like truly. I'd been hearing the word and I thought that's what I wanted, or thought that's what I was living. So I'm curious on kind of this journey on like when did you know like things were maybe not aligned? And I would love to talk about this journey, the spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, because I think this is also a messy middle people are scared of. That is truly some of the most healing times.
Yeah. I mean, just on that point, they are some of the most healing times. I was just talking to a friend and who's going through a transition, a big life, a heartbreak. And I said, get cozy because this is where you fall deeper and deeper in love with yourself. Like, this is the moment where your life starts to truly shift. Um, but in terms of that alignment piece, yeah, it's a good question. I think we're so disconnected. I think our heads and our hearts are so disconnected. And like me, I had lived in my head my whole life. I loved thinking, I loved being logical, I loved talking my way through things. And in those cases, which I mean, honestly, I just think we're conditioned, we live in a man's world, right? So I think that's how most of us operate. And as women, oh my God, there's so much more. I mean, as people, but especially as women, there's so much more to get into our body. And I think that's when I truly started feeling the out of alignment piece when my head was like, this isn't working. And in the case of the engagement, and then my body started, was having panic attacks. My autoimmune flare ups were getting worse. Um, my gut issues were bad. I started to have no more periods. Like
Mm.
my body was literally screaming. And I think that's when it kind of finally clicked. Like something isn't right. I don't think I had the exact words for it at the time. Like I'm feeling out of alignment. I was just like, this isn't right. But it's really, the body keeps the score, right? I think it's that piece of listening when your body starts to speak. It's when are you going to listen? I think it is the question of when, not if. Especially for sensitives, I am an empath, a sensitive, and intuitive, and I didn't really claim that part of myself until I started coming back into my body.
Yeah. And, kind of going down if you're, open to talking about kind of this health component, because I know your health kind of fell apart during this time. Walk us through a little bit on that journey and what has really like helped heal or continues to heal you now.
Yeah, so I did a fellowship in Southern Africa in Lesotho. I was about 2 years out of college, and it was a graduate fellowship, and I was working at an all-girls high school teaching human rights and sex ed. And it was incredibly stressful. No, not barely any running water, no electricity, no internet. We were, really in a rural village. But I loved the girls. I loved teaching. I just like my heart was fully in it. But about 6 months into that, 6 or 7 months into that, I became really sick. And I went to a hospital in Lesotho. They thought I had some sort of virus, worms. They weren't sure, couldn't figure it out. I then traveled to South Africa and went to another hospital there. And while I was there, um, there was a political coup in Lesotho. So I wasn't allowed to return back to that was my home at the time. And I was flown to Namibia and then flown back to the States eventually. All my stuff, I had my backpack, my passport, that was it. And I came home, I came back to LA and went to the doctor and they thought I had MS. So, I have chill. I'm like feeling it now. It's like, um, and that was really the start of the journey of what the hell is wrong. Eventually, I did not have MS. I was severely B12 deficient, which, if any of you who are listening have B12 deficiency and MS, are like their symptoms mirror each other. And so that was sort of the start. So I was on injections for B12. And then a few months later, really was not feeling well physically, emotionally, like pretty depressed coming home. The reverse culture shock was rough. And I went to the doctor and he said, you have a thyroid autoimmune disease. He didn't quite say Hashimoto's. He just said thyroid, autoimmune. That started putting some pieces together. He put me on metformin and Synthroid and things that just turned my body upside down.
Yeah.
I also was diagnosed with PCOS in high school, but it was never addressed. That wasn't working. I decided on my own volition to get off of those meds because the doctor wasn't quite listening to me. So I found an Eastern medicine doctor in New York and started going to him. And he was an acupuncturist and energy healer and put me on some supplements and really started working with him over the course of a few years. Started sleeping again. My gut issues got a little better. But really the like neuropathy and some of those B12 issues started to subside. Fast forward, ending the engagement, fast forward a couple years after that. And I really had this hormone piece that I hadn't figured out yet. And I started going to therapy, a new therapist, and we were doing some really deep trauma work. And that was bringing up this chronic pain in my back. That was bringing up the fact that I wasn't really getting normal cycles. I wasn't ovulating. And through deep therapy work. I found this incredible body worker here in Venice, who does sort of cupping, but works on the nervous system too. And I found another woman in Ohio who is working on my adrenals and hormones. And so, long story to say, it really started to come full circle this last year, where it painted this full picture of my nervous system. My nervous system was in fight or flight my entire life. And I had no clue that mind, body, spirit, soul, all of it were connected. Like intellectually, I knew that, right? You're like, mind, body, soul were connected. It wasn't until the labs matched the complex therapy work, which matched the body work, it was just this like, holy shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
I am, it was such a validating and beautiful moment. And yeah, I mean, I was really emotional that night, especially after seeing this hormone doctor. She was like, "How have you been living like this?" And to me, it was normal, it was baseline. So yeah, still ongoing. I have like a really amazing team now that I work with. And I think it's so crucial. Find your people, find the people that you trust, find your people to like who believe you, who support you on your healing journey, because it's all connected. You can't heal one part of, a physical symptom. It's rooted in something deeper. I fully believe that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you and I have chatted about this before, but it's like that's a missing puzzle piece to so many people's health journeys is, the gut protocols, the hormone stuff is amazing. And if you don't address really why that body cannot heal, it's almost always going to come back to nervous system work and the functional side too. But really, they both go hand in hand, and you'll see such faster results, but also more sustainable results, because that's the key. I mean, I feel like we've chatted about this before, but how many people do gut hormone protocols? They get it better and then they go right back. It's like, it's because they didn't address this thing, our whole being.
A whole being. Yeah, the root. Like I believe in higher consciousness. I believe in, that we truly are all connected, and the root of so many of our, dis-ease.
Mhm.
Like it's literally your body is not at ease, and there's so much we can learn from this physical thing. Like it just knows. It just knows. And I think that's been one of my biggest takeaways of particularly this last year is like turning within and looking to this source of such rich wisdom that we just, we're taught to ignore.
Yeah. Um, like in bioresonance, which is what, I primarily do now. We call it, the innate intelligence. And it's like getting your body the way that it knows how to heal. It just needs a little extra assistance sometimes, and it's just like getting your body to work the way that it was meant to. Yeah. But with the work you do, how has your journey kind of impacted how you work with clients now?
Yeah. So because I've been at so many points in my life at that precipice of major change, that then informed this idea of courage unleashed and how we can step through that fear and step into the courage. So I mostly work one-on-one with women, 3-month containers, and we sort of first identify what is your inner voice saying. So the first month is this clarity and connection back to self. We get radically honest about what's no longer working, the beliefs, behaviors, and protective strategies that have kept you safe but small. And we start rebuilding your relationship with your inner voice. And then the month 2 is really this disruption and pattern break. We dismantle the old patterns. And this is one of my favorite parts because it's the work of fear alchemy, transforming the beliefs and behaviors that have kept you in cycles of shrinking, and how to move through that out of fear without letting it control you. And then 3 is this bold action and integration piece where you really begin embodying your courage, whether it's setting boundaries, launching something, or stepping into your full self and relationships. This is where things really start to move. And it's such a co-creative process, and one that I am so privileged to walk with women on, because I know that feeling so deeply of you don't want to let go. It is this, like, I know deep in my soul that this is not right, but the thought and the fear of the uncertainty is just too much for me to let go. And my path has really, like, I have had to let a lot go, and my life has totally crumbled at various points in my life. And I would not be here without the crumbling. And so I call myself a psychological death doula. So I kind of lead you through, like, I'm like a midwife for your psychological death, because I truly believe you have to let things go to create a new, beautiful, beautiful life. I had no clue what was on the other side of fear. I had no clue. The first time I did that leap, I was terrified. And then once I soared, I was like, holy shit, this is what people could be living like there's such a life, there's such freedom, there's such abundance out just taking that one step past fear. So it's really informed my work with women. From that point in 2020, I was like, I want to be medicine for other women, like 100%. Like, this is my calling, because I want to see others thrive and live the life we want to live truly. I think it's such a disservice to ourselves to stay small. And I think it's one of the biggest heartbreaks, honestly, is seeing the potential in somebody, or knowing somebody can take that leap and they're just too scared. It breaks my heart. So that's part of my why. Really, really passionate about transformation. Connection and transformation are my two big whys, I would say.
Mm, love that. What are some of your favorite tools that you feel like really help break through those barriers for clients?
Definitely some parts work, getting in touch with various parts of ourselves that we've buried. Visualization. We work a lot on the subconscious and trying to undo those beliefs. So by doing that, I look in the future. Radical truth telling. I am an intuitive and can pick up on energies. And honestly, it can be uncomfortable for some people. That's why I'm not for everybody to work with, because if you want the truth, we can't work together. So that's a really big one. And mirroring, like, I am the holder of my people's dreams.
Mm,
We can talk about the wounds, we can talk about, but that's sort of when it's a fine line between therapy and coaching. For me, coaching is
mm,
future facing. I want to hold your dreams with all my heart, because who else is doing that? When we're playing small, when we're feeling stuck, we're contracted. And I'm like, let's expand. Like, I will hold your dreams in my heart. So I will be that one to tell you you can do it no matter what. So it's a lot of that empowerment work too, and being a mirror. And then lastly, flashlight, like acting as a flashlight to help guide each woman on their own direct path. So it's, undoing the beliefs, but then also looking really future facing and being able to hold a dream. Like, we should be dreaming.
true. I think we forget about that, or we're
We,
called delusional, you know.
yes. Yeah. Have you been, what's your experience with delusional, or you're crazy for doing this?
My whole adult life, really. When you follow intuition, I didn't know really what intuition really was until I honed in on it, but this like, this inner knowing, um, that just something is meant to be. I remember my first one was I got a job at WebMD right out of college. and it was quotation a dream job. It was not. But but it was in the city that my now husband was at. We did long distance, but we were, it was in that city. All my friends and family were still there, and I chose to go to a different state, 5 hours away, where I knew nobody, not one soul. And I took an unpaid apprenticeship job at a national touring company for dance because I was a professional dancer, and gave up this career where my whole family, friends, and relationship was to do this unpaid dance gig in a place where nobody knew I didn't know anybody, and on a dance gig, and I was like, nope, this is what I'm meant to do. And I worked 4 jobs, make ends meet, and I made it work. I did it for 1 year. It was great. Bye. But it's like, had I stayed there, I knew I wouldn't be happy. I was like, and everyone's like, what are you doing? I remember my dad's like, are you sure? I just remember him being like, are you sure? And I'm like, I've never been wrong. I've always trusted myself. Okay. And then I was going to go to med school. And after that, I was like, don't, after this, I'm going to go to med school, whatever. Then I decided to become a personal trainer and a Pilates instructor. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're giving up your, and I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. Built multiple 6 figures doing that, became the youngest, company, or I guess, team member, to be a manager there. And, you just, delusion's not bad. And then when I gave all of that up to start my own company from scratch and spent 20K on a business mentor out of nowhere to start it all from zero, I was like, this is right. This feels right.
I mean, what courage. Yeah, it's not for the path isn't for everybody. This,
Oh,
following one's intuition, but what courage you just illustrated, Shannon. I mean, it's like it's not delusional. We're taught that believing in our dreams is now apparently delusional. Like, why isn't it flipped? Like, we have it wrong. We should be living in joy. This
uh,
is what we're here for, to connect. Oh my God, like to connect with each other, to live in joy. This is why we're here. I feel like we've just, we've lost that. And I think coming back home to ourselves, because we can blame external this and that, the world is crazy, the world. But honestly, to me, I've just coming back home to you. You are one person can create such ripples. And to me, transformation leads to oneness. The energy of transformation leads to oneness. This is what I'm sort of aiming for, and personally, just around the globe. And I think that's why if each person can kind of do their own little transformation, what a world we would live in.
so true. I think people don't understand what joy really feels like. And I've had conversations, I'm sure you have too, where you ask, a woman or a man, whatever, it goes both ways. What do you do for fun? What brings joy into your life? And how many people sit there and go, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. And then it's hard because it's easy to spiral, like, out of that, right? And it's like, no, it's not, don't meet this with judgment, just curiosity, right? Like, why, what can we do to bring back joy? For a lot of people, it's those childlike things they used to do, hula hooping, or I love adult coloring books for clients. I've sent those to people, some with like cuss word. It's very fun. But, it's like we've lost joy in an effort to maintain an image, or in an effort to just climb the corporate ladder, or an effort to just be there for everybody else. That's a big one with women too, and it's like it's a little soul sucking without us realizing it, because especially as an empath, which we both are, it's like we do feel good because we're giving until our body says enough. And why women have like 80% of chronic autoimmune diseases, it's all of these emotions and all of these things we don't address, they build up, you know
Yeah, I will say on that point, I am now in this season of unsticking these emotions that
Yeah.
have been inside of me. And that was a game changer. Knowing that like I was the strong one, I always put on a strong face. I was the one supporting others. So I didn't want people to see me cry. I didn't want to show my emotions. It was so in here, like it was stuck beneath my throat chakra, my chest. And I saw a healer a few years ago and he was like, your throat is terrible. He's like, do you get chronic sore throats? I'm like, I actually have thyroid stuff. He's like, yes, like you are keeping so much in. And this has been a journey for me to
Yes.
cry when I want to cry,
Yeah.
feel the full spectrum of emotions.
Hmm.
Wow, has that unlocked so much for me. I think when we keep stuff in, energy needs to, like, life is meant to flow through us. It
Hmm.
just is meant to flow through. And if we stop that process, we become constricted. We become anxious, sad, depressed. But if we allow things to flow more naturally, I've just learned from my experience, it's such a you're co-creating with life. And ultimately that's, we're all artists of our own life.
Hmm.
And I think we're meant to let these emotions flow through. But I was so stuck in this more masculine paradigm,
Hmm.
keeping it together, keeping this strong face on for what? What looks like falling apart for me is me just feeling a goddamn emotion.
Yes. And for people listening too, things falling apart isn't a bad thing. Sometimes that's what needs to happen, but we're so scared because we want to control everything, and we're so scared of what's on that other side, of what's going to happen if we allow that, right? But this topic of unprocessed emotions comes up a lot on these podcasts, and I'm really glad because if you would have told me unprocessed emotions without some of the root of my autoimmune disease 10 years, I would have laughed at you. I've been like, no, it's my gut, which it was. And, you know, this is an important topic to understand that it's not the most fun sometimes. It's the most beautiful thing you can do, but that is, I don't know about you, but I'll do the hormone and gut protocols all day long. But the shadow work and the identity shifts and the hard shit going through that you have to like rewire is hard. Say it like it is. And it's wonderful and it's beautiful and it's the best thing you can do. And it's so funny when you do this work. Sometimes it can feel like you'll probably agree with this. It feels like you're not changing quick enough, right? We don't sometimes have this like, I'm from, I'm at A and now I'm at X. Great. I've made my journey. You know what I mean? And it's like, it feels like sludge, like feels like you're going through sludge. And then like you start noticing the people around you and how they don't really make you feel great anymore. Or how, certain people, you're like, the way you respond is so much different. Or maybe you didn't snap at your kids when you really, used to. Or your husband who put the dishwasher stuff in the wrong way. You just let it go. And you're like, huh. It's like those are signs of healing. It's like doesn't have to be some grandioso thing, right? Um,
There are huge signs of healing.
yeah.
The emotional regulation piece is huge. We think, my light just went out. We think, we think that those are these small baby steps. I'm like, those are actually the moments that make the biggest.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. The day to day is it. This is our life every single day, how we show up, how we choose to connect with somebody else, how we choose to connect with ourselves. Like, that's it. This is life. We are literally living it right now, every second. Oh, it's gone. Okay, it's gone. It's gone. Like, this is it right here. And those moments, yeah, if you feel like you're not getting the desired results fast enough, know that it's working on another level.
Yeah.
It just is.
100%. I think that's a lesson a lot of women need to hear, especially, the women we work with a lot, high achieving, you know. Oh, I get my worth from these achievements and from accomplishing all these things. And it's like, this is different. And you have to rewire to what like really accomplishments mean and how that feels and learning to just love and trust yourself again.
I think we are going through a huge awakening as a society. And I think a lot more people are being called to look within and trust themselves.
I agree.
And I think it's people are coming online, people are understanding what meant to do here and how they want to live outside of these old paradigms that aren't working for us anymore. I think it's a collective response. And
Mhm.
I think the old way of working is there, it's fighting back, like we are seeing struggle collectively, but it's only because we're making progress. There would
Right.
be no fight back, there would be no resistance if we weren't actually working toward more of this oneness that I see society going. Maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's not in 5 years, but it's certainly on its way.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking
That,
of resistance, too, though, like around what you just said, I think the work is hard because we have this resistance to it. We don't want to necessarily face
hmm
some parts of our childhood or some parts of ourselves that we just haven't looked at. And that was a big thing for me is I did not know how resistant I was until it started coming up and my system was like, no, 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 no. Like, let's not go here. We don't want to open that door. But with a safe container, with somebody you trust, um, the second you start breaking through tiny bits of that, uncracking, seeing the light come through those cracks, I think that's where the real work begins and where joy actually can start coming in more to your life.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, for sure. If you were to give some advice for a woman who's maybe in this, something more is out there for me. I really don't know why or what or how. Um, what would you kind of give them as words of encouragement, advice, enlightenment?
One, you're not alone. There are so many of us who are navigating transitions every day, big or small. So one, you are not alone. And two, don't be afraid to look and ask yourself some better questions. I think better questions yield better answers. And I think if we're in this space of really questioning and using our head to question, I would say reverse a question and turn to the body, and ask your body what it's trying to tell you. I think that for me is a huge first step in navigating uncertainty, is just sitting with yourself and asking your body, what do you need right now in this moment? And really just, even if it's for 1 minute,
Yeah.
just allowing some answers to come through is the first step to sort of understanding where you're feeling stuck. The uncertainty pieces can be so scary, and fear is often activated in this. And I think if we can just hold one hand over your chest, one hand on your stomach, and be present with that fear, ask it what it's trying to show you in this very moment. Don't go in the past, don't go in the future, just in this very moment. What are you trying to tell me? I think that's a really amazing way to come home to yourself in the small moments. And then obviously, seek seek support. I think we're all here to help each other, and guide each other home. And so I think if you're struggling in this in between, not sure what's next, like definitely seek support. There are people who are your like dream coaches, dream guardians, just to help guide you through this process.
Guiding can be really helpful. And also, if your intuition's saying, drink some damn water, I can guarantee you, half of y'all listening to this need to go and drink some water. Just saying. That's literally when I do that with clients, they're like, I'm dehydrated. I'm like, good, okay, we're listening to our bodies. But really. But this
Have
is
you
all,
nourished yourself? Have you eaten? Have you rested? Like
yeah, like the basics, but
basic.
we forget the basics are essential for a reason. Um, but I'm half joking, half not. But Colleen, if people wanted to find you a little more, understand more on the work you do, chat with you, where can they connect with you?
Email Colleen Osborne at colleenosborne.com. Um, Instagram, I just started an Instagram account, so it is very new. Colleen Osborne coaching. I would say those are the two best ways to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Yes, go follow her. Go beef up their Instagram account. Go give some love to her new account. But thank you so much for spending some time this afternoon and chatting with me. I hope this conversation was really helpful and enlightening to many of you. If you guys found this helpful, I would love it if you just shot Colleen or me a DM. Let us know that you liked it or leave a review so more people can also hear this as well. But otherwise, thank you for taking the time to listen. And thank you, Colleen, for taking the time to be here. And we'll catch you guys on the next show.
Thanks so much, Shannon.
Thank you, Colleen.